This episode is brought to you by Lumina Growth Lab. At Lumina, we help professional learning and development companies who are struggling with predictable lead flow, breaking out beyond their network, and a sniper approach to attracting the ideal clients so they can have a smoother sales process, finally have scalability, and ultimately take their business to the next level. Most of the time, our clients come to us frustrated because business has fundamentally changed since the pandemic and now the disruption of AI. But with the right strategy and support, they're able to confidently add new channels of lead generation, leading to a packed pipeline that creates sustainable revenue and year-over-year growth for cheaper than ever before because of the use of AI technologies. If that sounds like you or someone you know, connect with me on LinkedIn and I'd be happy to have a conversation with you about unlocking your business's potential. Now, let's dive into today's episode. Welcome to the Marketing Matrix. I'm your host, Lysanne Murphy, and today I am joined by the one and only talented Rick Bowers. Rick, thank you so much for coming on the show today.
Yeah, glad to be here.
Guys, I am so excited for this conversation, so you better buckle up. It's going to be a good one. Let me take a moment to introduce this man a little bit more formally, and then I'm really excited for us to dive into our conversation today. So today's guest is someone who has spent his entire career helping leaders and organizations understand people at a deeper level and reach their highest potential. Rick, the founder of Apex GTS Advisors, brings more than 3 decades of experience in assessments, talent development, and organizational growth. A native of Iowa and grounded in strong Midwest values, Rick built his career at TTI Success Insights, where he spent over 30 years and ultimately became president, leading consultants and partners around the globe. Expertise in understanding human behavior and developing high-performing cultures has shaped thousands of leaders and teams. Rick is also deeply committed to giving back. He's currently serving his second term on the ASU National Alumni Board and Council, acting both as ambassador and advisor to the university he loves. He also contributes his thought leadership as a longtime board member of the Hartman Institute. In 2022, launched Apex GTS Advisors, where he helps organizations grow, transform, and reach their apex with clarity, confidence, and proven strategy. When he's not working with companies or developing leaders, you'll likely find him with his wife and 2 sons out on the water, on the slopes, or anywhere there's an opportunity for adventure. And Rick was actually just telling me about how he and his family traveled for Christmas, and that was their big adventure. And so excited to have you. And I love when people include in their introduction not just their professional, but like what they enjoy personally, right? Because we're a whole human being, not just what we do to make money. So,
Right.
well, again, welcome to the show, Rick.
Thank you.
Okay, so for people that are not familiar with your journey, I mean, we got an amazing 30,000 view of your depth of industry experience. I would love to know, like talk to me about like what makes you most passionate when you're working with teams and leaders in transformation. Like, what is it that just like lights you up as you're doing that?
Interesting, because as a younger person, I would have never thought this would have been the industry or the path that my life took. Growing up, I was more into cars and things like that as opposed to people. But as I started working for TTI and kind of got deeper and deeper into what the assessments can do for people and how creating that awareness for them really kind of gives them all of these opportunities, it just really started to become more and more fun as the career continued to advance. And then as I started my consulting business, I wasn't really sure what path the consulting business would take, but I've really found that the executive coaching or what I call high potential leadership coaching has been the most rewarding. And I think it really ties back to kind of the driving forces or the values that you have. And one of the things from the assessments that I've really discovered is helping people that want to grow is something that really drives me. And so as I'm working with different coaching clients and things, I'll see those where the light bulbs are coming on above their head, and then I'll meet with them the next session and they'll like, this just was so great. I tried all of these different things and this is what the results were. And you can just see that they want more. And then sometimes you get the people that are just telling you what you want to hear. And it's like, it doesn't do anything for me. I still get paid, but that's really not what it's about. And so it's kind of the thrill of seeing someone else grow is kind of really what's driven me over the last 3 years in this business that I
I love
started. And then prior times with TTI as well.
So, okay, so you did experience that spark at TTI, and do you feel like it's been intensified as you've done your own consulting firm?
Yeah. With TTI, it was sometimes when you would go somewhere in the world to do a training session with 20 or 30 people in the room, and you would start to see people like get excited because then they could go out and do something with it for their own businesses. But since I've had my own consulting, it's more intimate because it's a lot of one-on-one. I still do group sessions and things as well, and you see it there, and then people will have fun and like, oh, now I understand why you say what you do, or why you do it this way, kind of a thing too. So it's just the awareness of others and awareness of yourself.
Yeah, I love that. And is there a particular area of executive coaching that you focus on? Like, is it on how leaders are interacting with their team? Is it on personal fulfillment? Is it on taking businesses to the next level? Where is your focus typically?
I think a byproduct of it is taking the business to the next level because as the people grow, the business then grows. But really, what I focus on, I do a lot with emotional intelligence. And so it's kind of creating that own awareness of what that person brings to the job or how they're perceived by somebody else and those kinds of things. So it's really kind of digging into those type details, really help them understand the difference between people skills and hard skills and soft skills or people or soft skills are really the people skills, but they're a lot harder to learn to deal with than a lot of the hard skills. And so separating that out has been something that has really helped people understand that I can start this conversation with a positive note versus I can be angry going into the conversation. And what's the outcome going to be one way or the other?
Yeah, yeah, I love that. And talk to me about the assessments that you use. Are they existing assessments? Have you created a proprietary assessment? Like what's your take with your assessments?
Well, being working for TTI for 30 plus years, I still think that they have the best assessments on the market. I've looked at some of the other ones, but they're really the ones that I feel are most user friendly and effective for the individuals. Understanding how they were built, building some of them myself, understanding where the statements and things come from, it kind of gives my clients a deeper understanding of an assessment than someone that's just buying something off the shelf and hoping for the best with it. So the TTI tools are really good.
Cool. So you're still using those. Nice. And are they like based on like are they like personality based, the 360 assessment based? Like what like talk to me about those.
Mostly it's like a self-assessment type tool. So like a DISC assessment, probably one of the most common ones in the world, whether it's Myers-Briggs or DISC or Enneagram or any of those. But then TTI has a lot of what they call sciences. So DISC is the how, the driving forces or the motivation is kind of why you do what you do. EQ is more about how you react to things and how you perceive things.
Hmm.
And they have skills assessments and a lot of different things from that standpoint.
I love it. So and then personally, what is your disc?
I am high D if we just go from the DIS standpoint, D and then I with a very low S and then the C coming back up.
Nice. We're almost identical. I'm
Yeah.
a high D, high I. D is higher than the I, and then my S and C are pretty low.
Yeah, that was one of the last things that I did before I left is I created the horizontal continuum for it. And so instead of talking about highs and lows, it's direct versus reflective. And so just kind of giving names to the continuums and things. And so that actual low S is really the highest factor, which is dynamic when it comes to pace and consistency. So it's kind of an interesting way to look at it as people sometimes get
Tell me
hung
more
up on
about that.
highs and lows. Yeah.
Yeah, tell me more about that. What do you mean by that? Because I haven't heard that take on the disc.
So when you think about I'm a high D, what does that really tell you? Unless you know the model, it doesn't tell you a lot. But if you say I'm direct when it comes to problems and challenges, that kind of gives you an idea of what it is versus someone on the opposite end of that continuum is I'm more reflective when it comes to problems and challenges. I'll still solve the problem, but I'm going to reflect on it a little bit versus that direct or the high D is just going to attack the problem before they probably even know half of the details.
Interesting.
And so there's just a going through the 4 continuums then the right side and the left side versus the high side and the low side.
Yeah, yeah, I love that. Yeah, one of the coolest trainings I ever had on the disc was not just like about understanding myself, but how to work with team members based on their disc assessments, right? Because, what motivates them or what they need to recharge or what they value, right? It changes everything. Like if you as you understand like how other people are oriented as well.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's one of my favorite things about assessments is not just your personal understanding, but the team dynamic understanding as well that helps you know how to work with others and not just be like, they're crazy. Why aren't they seeing it the same way that I am?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, people don't understand how they're perceived by other people. And so that self-awareness is key, understanding that when they say this, it can be perceived a completely opposite way of what they intended it. And so
Yes,
there's a lot of different things that I do with communication workshops around assuming positive intent and presenting in a positive way that it can be received in a positive way.
I love that. That's so cool. Are there particular industries that you work in? I mean, I know like the things that you do are principally are industry agnostic, but are there certain industries that like you've just kind of drilled into?
Yeah, I mean, I don't it just kind of fell into it. It was my first client, still my longest running client, my biggest client. It's commercial construction. And so, but I've also worked in a lot of different industries from marketing companies, private charter school. I've worked with cybersecurity, worked with employee benefits companies. So just a lot of different variety from that standpoint because it's about the people skills, not the hard skills. But
Yeah,
commercial construction's been very rewarding because I call it the clunky industry where they're focused on building versus building relationships. And when they see how they can build a relationship will increase the efficiency of building the building, then they start to, the light bulbs again come on and they get excited about what they can actually do. Because if you think about that stereotypical construction from 20 years ago, it was everything is everybody carries a hammer. And if you don't do what I say, you're going to get the hammer. And that doesn't work anymore because there's so many companies that if they don't like how they're being treated, they go to another company. And so talent, how you treat your talent, how do you understand the people that are in your organization is really critical from the very top all the way through.
yeah. And is that something that is like is that a it takes a certain kind of leader in a construction company to recognize that the benefit of that? Or like is it kind of a harder sell because they're like they're more focused on the material just getting stuff done?
You definitely get some of the older generation that's a harder sell, but then they start to see other people being successful by just adapting their communication style in certain situations. And it's like, well, how did you get that inspector to do this? Is like, well, we have a relationship versus I don't yell at him every time I see him and those kinds of things. And so then you can have a conversation and say, okay, I understand why you did something versus just give him a flat no. And so once they start to see how effective it is, then they'll come around as well. But some people take longer than others.
Yeah, that's awesome. I love it. So cool. So we're at the time of this recording, we're in the very beginning of January of 2026. So talk to me about what's on the horizon for Apex. Like what are you drilling into for 2026?
I mean, a couple things just from the New Year's resolution. It's that time of year to get back onto the networking events and those kinds of things, which necessarily my favorite thing to do, but I know it's one of those pieces for the continuing to grow the business. So just trying to continue to have two or three of those a month that I go to meet new people and just kind of get to know and build those relationships. The other thing really we're focused on is what are we putting together for kind of the month after month for our LinkedIn strategy with the blogs and the articles and things, and how does it tie into kind of what we're seeing in the marketplace and what the leaders that we're working with really need. So not only do they see it just from our one-on-one conversations, but it's what we're putting out into the cyber world, I guess, as well. So
Mhm.
kind of focus on those things. We'll probably try to schedule an executive breakfast or two throughout the mid portion of the year, and just continue to build from that standpoint.
That's awesome. Is most of your clientele like pretty regionally located in the Midwest, or do you expand beyond?
Yeah, luckily I've not had to travel. I'm in Scottsdale, Arizona. I travel all over the valley here, so I'm in Tempe and Phoenix. And after this recording, I have about a 45-minute drive out to the East Valley for a meeting and things. But I've been lucky where there's enough business in town where I haven't had to travel with the business.
That's nice. I love it. That's great. But yeah, because you're on the ASU. You do some work with ASU. I actually ASU's women's basketball team played BYU just a couple days ago.
Yeah.
They had their first. We dealt them their first loss of the season, which I don't know if you were aware of that game or saw it, but it was pretty exciting. I saw them. The ASU came to play Utah and BYU in the same week, and so I watched
Okay.
both of the games, and it was
Yeah.
fun. So
Yeah,
anyway,
I got to meet Molly, the new coach. She's just like you just get energized by talking to her. She just has that much energy and she's going to be a really good coach for ASU.
yeah. Well, she seems to be a firecracker. The reason why I was into both of those games actually is my friend grew up with Molly. And so she
Okay.
was like, she works at the U. So she was like, I want to go see my childhood friend coach. And so we went to go watch her at the U and then watch the game at BYU on TV. So, but yeah, they're an impressive team. Like, and for the record they've created for the first season, it's
Yeah.
for her first season as a coach really is very impressive. Okay, cool. Back to business. Talk to me about like what are you seeing any trends with like your clients of like that they're being affected by any market trends, or they're coming with certain resistances or roadblocks or questions or whatever, like what how is either whether it's economic, political, technology, AI, like how are market dynamics impacting your work with your clients?
Yeah, I would say fourth quarter, people were a little hesitant. There wasn't a lot of new happening in the fourth quarter. It was just kind of continued to build with the people that I was already working with. Starting to see a little bit. I know it's only the second week of the year, but starting to see a little bit of, all right, we have to really take advantage of what 2026 looks like it's going to bring in whatever industry they're working in. And so commercial construction, especially here in Arizona, a lot of data centers, a lot of chip, a lot of that AI industry here and growing as fast as they can find people to build stuff. And so
Mhm.
having the right understanding of what talent they want to bring in for the different roles, truly understanding what the role needs versus just hiring whoever comes through the door is critical, because you want to make sure that you're contributing to that employee brand and not bringing in somebody that's not going to fit within the organization and the culture. So just culture piece is critical. They want to continue to grow. The clients want to grow, but they want to do it in a way that isn't disruptive, I think.
Hmm. Interesting. Yeah. No, that's cool. Yeah. Really insightful. Yeah, I'm really interested to see what happens in Q1 as well. I recognize that as well. I mean, being working as a consultancy and agency. Yeah, absolutely. I saw very much similar to you in terms of the people that I work with as well. Okay, so there's a lot of consultants, a lot of executive coaches out there. So what do you feel like is your secret sauce? What do you do that's different than most in your industry?
I've had that question a lot of different ways, and I kind of always go back to the same place. I I feel like I ask really good questions. I feel like there are some consultants out there that are brilliant, but sometimes that maybe gets in the way because they give more answers than they ask questions, because they've done so much. They've got so much experience in certain industries, and so it's more telling versus asking. And where I really find is, especially kind of in the coaching piece, is the more I can listen and hear the words that they're saying and then put those words back into something that then they can digest of, well, yeah, and when it's their words versus my words, it really seems to sink in more. And so just that, the really asking good questions, listening to what the responses are, and then digging in deeper to the response, as opposed to I go in with a loose agenda to a coaching session. And then wherever it takes me throughout the time is kind of what I feel benefits the person the most. Like I start every session out as, tell me what's going on with your role. Are there anything specific that you want to talk about before I get to my agenda? Because it's their time, not my time. I'm just there
Yeah,
to help them grow.
I love that. Yeah, the focus on being curious, right? And questions. It's so important. I think so often we're as a human nature, we're excited to be helpful. And so we often jump in with assumptions and without understanding like the full context or a layer of nuance with emotional impact or whatever. So I love that. I love that you pick it out as like, I was kind of like half expecting you to say like something about assessments. And so for you to talk about questions, I actually like that because it really goes back to what you're saying in terms of like the soft skills, right? Like it's the soft skills that are going to make the difference, right? And so the fact that that's what you feel like is your
I
secret
mean,
sauce.
the assessment's a great tool, but it's just that it doesn't give you all the answers. And I'll have someone else say, okay, read this paragraph and tell me the two sentences that stand out to you in that paragraph. And the paragraph's about them. And so then once they pick out these sentences, it's like, okay, well, why is that important to you? Or how does that impact your coworkers? And so it gives you, again, a place to have a conversation versus to say, this is what you need to do based on what this piece of paper says.
Yeah, I love that. What do you feel makes a good question? What makes it not just like I'm not asking for like the specific question, but like what makes a question invite someone to open up or be more introspective or go deeper, in your opinion?
kind of trying to, once you're into the topic, and then it's always, can you give me an example of where this turned out well for you? Or can you give me an example where you wish you would have done something differently? And so it's not just a, did this go well? Yes, no. Yes, no questions don't really go anywhere. And that's another thing that I teach a lot of the people, especially in construction, because they'll say, is this room ready for the inspector? And the foreman will say yes. And then they get there with the inspector and the room's not ready. And it's like, don't ask a yes, no question. It's easy for them to just tell you what you want to hear. If you say, tell me about the status of this room, then that foreman has to go in and really tell you what's going on. And then you know where it's at. And that's the same kind of philosophy that I use when I'm coaching the executives.
Interesting. I love that. So really leaving it open-ended and an opportunity to be descriptive based on the person's
Yeah.
frame.
Yeah.
That's so cool. I love that. I love that. Is that that skill was that something that a coach taught you, or do you feel like it was innate? Did you learn it through your own studies, through all those awesome books behind you? Where did it come from?
I do like to read, but I've always been very curious, and I don't know, like, you have the kids that are why to everything. Like, our neighbor is 9 or 10 right now, and he drives me nuts with the why questions. But that curiosity is still there. And one of the consultants from TTI that I've known for years, when I was president there, and he and I would always have great conversations. And then when I started my business, I was like, so tell me about what you do in coaching. And he's like, I ask good questions and then I write everything down that people respond with. And then that's all of my material that I go forward with. And I'm not a great typist, so I get a lot of the things, but I rely on my memory for a lot of it as well. But just kind of taking the curiosity that I have naturally and then what I learned from this person to say, okay, this is what's driving it. And it just became successful for me and effective. So I just dig in deeper.
That's awesome. I love it. Okay, so you just said you like to read. Are you reading anything currently?
And I listen to probably more things than I read right now just because I'm driving to clients and things. I just started yesterday listening to Crucial Conversations.
I love that. Yeah,
And
by
so
Vital
that
Smarts.
one's interesting because it ties in because communication is such a big piece, and
Hmm.
there's more emotional intelligence in this book than I really was anticipating, and it's talking about how we need to make sure we're ready for the crucial conversation, because if we're going into it and we haven't prepped ourselves for it, our brain could be somewhere else. It could be frustrated from a previous conversation, and then we lose some of that ability to ask the right questions or to have the right responses.
Yeah.
And so like I said, just getting into it, but I like the things that tie into the EQ piece.
Yeah, you're gonna love that one. Vital Smarts, the group behind Crucial Conversations and like their influencer book, they're located in my hometown, and
Okay.
so um, I had an opportunity to attend a workshop, a Crucial Conversations workshop, like in their early days, and it was
Yeah.
still like to this day one of my favorite workshops I've ever been to, in terms of how practical but
Okay.
like really really helpful
Yeah.
the tools are for like how to approach a conversation and how to frame your perspective when you're in conflict with somebody. It's so good. So I'm excited.
Yeah.
That's going to be a good one.
Yeah.
I love listening as well. There's something about like a hardcover book. Like I love
Yeah.
hardcover books, but also I mean like when you're in the car driving or when you're doing cardio, like
Hmm.
getting the book time in by listening is a good way to
Yeah.
do it. That's awesome. So do you how do you choose your next book? Like do you have a list? You're just like kind of going through it, or like what how do you pick what's coming up?
It's a lot of times it's just conversations with the coaching clients. They'll say, "Have you read this?" And a lot of times I have, sometimes I haven't. And so it's like that. Sometimes I've picked things up on social media where there'll be someone recommending a book, or once in a while on LinkedIn you'll see like the top 10 books that I've read. And so that's always been something I was keep telling myself I'm going to do, is put all of my book recommendations on our website, but I've never gotten to that yet.
Yeah.
That's a thing I need to do.
That's so fun. I love it. Well, when you do, let me know because I
Okay.
want to check out that list for sure. I love it. Awesome. Well, this has been seriously such a fun conversation, and to get to know you a little bit better personally, to be able to understand how you approach life and your sense of curiosity, as well as your work and the impact that you're having in organizations. So I really appreciate you coming on the show today.
Yeah. Thank you for having me.
Yeah. So for people that want to follow your journey or get in touch with you or find Apex or reach out in some way, what's the best way for people to do so?
Probably just through the website. All of the social links and things are there. So the website is apexgts.com.
Okay, perfect. Okay, guys, so I'm going to link that in there, and I'll probably also drop your LinkedIn profile so they can find that content that you're posting there. So, guys, I hope that you enjoyed this conversation as much as I have, and wherever you are, thank you so much for taking the time to tune into the Marketing Matrix. We know your time is valuable, so for you to spend some time with us, it just means the world.